This is a tutorial on a couple tips and tricks for using in Harmony. First, we're going to start with our audio, and this is something we've done and I've shown a couple times where we're going to get import sound, and I'm just going to grab my which audio. So if I try moving any of this around and I just grab a bunch of it like this and I move it, the problem with that is that it's going to break your audio and overlap the audio in some bad ways. So we don't want to grab our audio and just move that around. We need another way to be able to grab the entire audio. First things first, this audio is 13 seconds. I want the entire animation to be 15 seconds. So let's just grab a calculator here. And we want 15 by, and it's 24 frames in a second. So that's 24. We have 360. We're going to go to our scene length, and tell it that we want 360 frames. Down here, make sure your stop is also at 360. If I was to zoom out now, we can see that we have the entire audio here. So the audio kind of finishes around here at 13 seconds, and we have 2 seconds to play. So what if I want to have that 2 seconds not at the end, I want it at the beginning? The quick way to move this audio over is I'm going to double click on the audio layer, and it brings up this window. And I'm going to look for 2 seconds in, which is 48 frames. 24 frames a second, 2 seconds is 48. So I'm going to take the beginning of the audio and tell it that I want this to start at frame 48. There we go. And I have to go to the end, because that got cut off. I have to add that extra 2 seconds, because we can see the audio here got cut off. And that's the end of the audio there. And that's it. The audio has been moved over. So we can see now we have a longer beginning and a shorter end. Next is our scenery. So that's it with the audio. If you want to see the audio waveform, which is the pattern it makes like this, and you want to see that better, you can't make this any larger. I can zoom in, and it makes it larger horizontally, but not vertically. I can go over here to Window, XSheet. This is the way animators are normally used to seeing their work, which is vertically. And we've got a layer for our drawing and the layer for our audio. I want to join this over here. Whenever you have something that has been put in a window and you want it put over here, don't grab the top here and try to do something with it. You have to come in here and take the tab and then drag it over, and you can see when I move it here, it's going to want to dock it to different areas. If I put it over the other tabs, it'll add it to those tabs. And there we go. Bring that down. So here's my audio, but there's no, you can see there's no waveform. You can see which wave starts there, but they're not showing a waveform. So I'm going to select this layer, make sure it's selected, right click, sound display. I don't want to see it by name. I don't want to see the mouth shapes. I want to see the waveform. And there we go. So this is now as wide as I want it to be. Okay, so let's go back to what we're doing. Next is let's get some backgrounds in here. First, I'm going to import an image. And I've got an image of a background. So I want to show you what happens when we make some changes here. First off, we want to put this on a layer of its own. So a single layer named BG, background. And I want to show these things here. If I keep it as original bitmap, it's going to ask me, how do I want this? I want to fit it. Do I want to pan? If I say fit, this is what's going to happen. It's just going to stick it in here. And if I try to select this to move it or something, I can't select it. So that's not good for us. I want it to be a layer where I can move it and do stuff with it. So let's go back to image. I think we still have the same one selected. Background. Change this to, let's use this one. Convert to Toon Boom vector drawing. This is not recommended because your drawing that you're bringing in is not a vector. Vectors are things done in Illustrator where the lines are mathematically done. And I don't think we've done file formats in that way. But this is a default. Always stick with the default. Import as Toon Boom bitmap drawing. And it's not going to matter down here what we choose. I could fit it into the window with a horizontally or vertically. I can do its actual size. I'm going to change it anyhow. So I'm going to say OK. And here's our image. And if I select it now, why is it not letting me select the image? Oh, I'd have the right layer selected. Okay, so I've got my image selected. I'm going to get rid of this background, delete. Sorry, get rid of the drawing. So I have this selected, and I can scale this up and do all kinds of stuff. So if I went and scale this, I want to get it in the scene, and it's always good to have a drawing that is larger than your camera if you want to pan it or move it around. So that's good for me. All right, so we'll start with this, and let us, what is that dotted line for? That's not my view. My view is this black line. Okay, so I have that. If I go to this view here, this view will show me the final render of what it's going to look like. I'm going to keep in this view though. All right, so the next thing is I want something animated brought in. So I've got a fireplace. Unfortunately, I need to unzip it. Where did it go? There you are. File, import, images. So in this case, this is where this is important. I'm going to select all of these, and that's where this is important, because if this was selected, each of those frames will go on one layer, and it'll be one frame per layer. I want all the frames in one layer, so I'm going to take this and I'll call it fireplace. And it's underneath, so I'll put that above. Where is it? So it's good to have your node view open. Things are read from left to right, so I can see that the fireplace is in the wrong place. Move it over, and oh no, it was right. It's just I was on a frame where it wasn't showing the fireplace. So here's my fireplace. I'll shrink it down and replace this one. It's the wrong color and everything, but I don't care. Okay, so we've got an animated fireplace now. Oh, yes. So this is one of the other tutorials I was going to do, is that I want to be able to move and animate things. If I was to scale this down, right now I'm scaling just one frame. I don't know what's going on with that. Anyhow, I don't know what's going on. Sorry. So if I scale this down, it's just that one frame. I want to scale down the layer. In order to do that, I'll use this tool called the transform tool. And at this point, I'm going to take this next tool above it, which is the animate current frame, and I'm going to turn off animate off. I don't want to do any animations. I just want to resize the whole layer. There, so I've got the whole thing done. And that means that all the frames are done. Now, I need to loop these frames. First things first is I'm running at 24 frames a second. Watch how fast that's going to animate. So the fire is very fast. I want to slow down how fast the fire is going. I'm going to select all my frames, exposure, 2s, meaning it's going to run 2 frames for each of my drawings. And that's a little bit slower, which is better. But I need to loop it. Let's say I want to loop this for the entire time. I know that I have 15 seconds worth of animation. This is up to frame 12. So there are 6 frames. Let's go back to calculator. So 360 frames, and it takes 12 frames to do one loop. So how many loops do I need? I need 30 loops. So select everything, right click, and then exposure, extend exposure, and create cycle. So how many cycles do I want? 30. If I look at the end now, this comes to an end. This goes the whole way through. So if I play this now, I've got a nice fireplace that burns the whole way
What
through.
makes you think she's a witch? Well, she turned me into a newt!
Okay, let's go back. Next, I need a character. So the character is going to be someone who's walking past, and it's going to be the exact same thing we just did with the fireplace. I'm going to go to my images, browse, and this time I'm going to grab an old project. Let's grab cherry. And I want east. And that's the full loop. And we'll call this layer cherry. Okay, so here we have cherry added in. I want her in front of everything. So remember, it's reading left to right. I'm going to put cherry over here. And this is cherry's walk cycle. Once again, I'm going to do exposure. I'm going to put her on 2s. And let's see if that is fast enough. Okay, so that's good. And she ends at frame 18. Let's do our math again. We've got 360 divided by 18 frames. We need 20 loops. Select all of it. And create cycle, 20 loops. All right. So she's kind of big. I want her to be filling more of the scene. So I want to make her bigger. And once again, I've got this turned off. Make sure that's off. And I'm using the transform tool. She's kind of just going to walk past the whole scene. So I'm going to put her here. And she's going to walk from here to there. But I also want the camera to pan across as well. So this is where we're going to need some helpers. I can animate the layers themselves, but I want to be able to animate all of these in one go. Cherry's going to have her own animation, but these are also going to have animations on them as well. And that's where we use something called a peg. So in here, I'm going to come and I'm going to say I want to have I'm going to insert. So I can do this two ways, using the insert or the node library down here. I just say insert. So insert, something about the moving, I want a peg. So there's one peg, and I'm going to duplicate it. So Control C, Control V, and I've got two pegs. One is going to be for Cherry. This is going to help move Cherry around. And then this is going to move everything else around. So for now, I just want to work on Cherry's peg. And for this, make sure that we have our animation turned back on. So Cherry is going to start here, and the peg is here. I'm going to want to create a keyframe here. So I can right click and say insert. I can use F6. There's shortcuts down here. So KF is keyframe. So if I click on that, it's created a keyframe on that layer. I don't think it'll take the full 13 seconds. Let's just find a spot anywhere. I can change this layer, and I'm going to put in another keyframe. And this time I'm going to take Cherry, and if I do this, Cherry is floating around. If I use Shift, it's going to lock Cherry to be only horizontal, and I'll move Cherry to the other side. And we can see now there's a line drawn between my two keyframes saying that it's calculating her position. So let's see how that works. So she's walking too slow. I can take this keyframe and I can just drag it over. Still a little slow. That's better. Okay. Oops. And that's Cherry's movement. I now want to move the whole scene. So I'm going to take my next peg, and I can peg this to that, that, and that. This is one way of doing it. And now I can come and take the whole thing. I want to start it over here. So just moving it adds the keyframe. And now I'm going to move this using Shift, move it over here. So the whole scene is going to pan over. So this is one way of moving everything. The other way is that I've got this peg. I'm going to select all of these things here, and I can right click and say group them. And they're now all in one group. I can come out. Oh, no, I want to also grab the composite node. So the composite node is what is taking all of these and blending them together. I'm going to select that as well. And right click, group, group. So now everything is inside one node, and they all come out of this group and they go to the display. That's what shows it over here. And so if I take that off, nothing displays. And they also go out to the right. So that's what allows us to save the file. But we have this peg that we can add to the entire group. So it's the exact same thing we did before. I'm just going to move this over here, and let's get to, I guess, here, and move it over there. So let's play this back, and we get a pan.
What makes you think she's a witch?
And we get Cherry walking across. I'm going to do the pan slower. And I can take Cherry and I can grab her keyframes, which, since this is a group, we can see now that we have this little symbol here next to the group. And the peg is attached to the group. And if I go in here, I can see my other peg inside here. And I can grab those and move those over so that Cherry's going to walk past halfway through.
What makes you think
Cherry.
she's a witch? Well,
okay. So if I go into my render view now, we can see that Cherry's not in that shot, and Cherry only walks through at this point. And that's what will look like when it's rendered. Now Cherry's in the foreground. I want to focus on Cherry and not on the background, meaning that the background I want out of focus. So this is another thing I can do where, let's go inside this group. So I'm going to double click on the group. Sorry, not double click. Right, sorry, it's just click that plus, that little arrow on the side here. And that takes me in, the top arrow takes me back out. So in the group, we have this display, this composite that is taking care of all of them. I want to be able to get a composite that's going to take care of Cherry and another composite that's going to take care of these guys. So I'm going to move them over to this other one. And why are they? Oh, pass through. Pass through. No? Hold on a sec. Let me figure this out. Okay, to be able to get these on different composites, the multi-port out, this is this here. It's at one node that comes out, and there's only one of them. So we have to make sure that we only have one coming out. So I'm just going to take this composite, and I'm going to paste it twice. And I'm going to have this guy going out. So if I did this, there's two outs, and right now this out isn't going anywhere. So I don't want that. I want to take this off, and I'm going to put this to the output. Sorry, I'm going to go from the output to there. So now that is linked to one out, and now I can take these two and put them together. So these guys are going to take, this one over here is going to take the fireplace, and the one over there is going to take Cherry. So the reason why I want to do that is that I can come in here, insert, filter, blur, let's go for a Gaussian blur, and otherwise I would have to put this on each of these drawings. But if I put this on this, while I'm dragging this, I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to drag it in between, and that's going to just connect it up. So this guy is now coming out of the composite, which means he'll be applied to both of them at the same time. Let's go to Gaussian and blurriness, set it at 20. I think that should be good. And there we've got our out of focus background. Maybe 20 is a little harsh. Let's try 10. That's better. Okay, now we've got everything together. We can output this. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to do for tutorials. Let me just check my notes. All right, so the notes say import frames in a loop for the fireplace and a walk cycle, move the audio that was imported, show the XSheet, and show keyframes. So I've done all that, and let's do an output and see how this looks. All of my frames, yes. Where do I want it? I want it on the desktop. When things take a little while to render, it's because I've got that Gaussian blur in there. That usually takes a while to render. There's some faster blurs, but this is the nicer looking blur. All right, here's our final.
What makes you think she's a witch? Well, she turned me into a newt. A newt?
And that's it. All right, so happy animating. Have a good one, everyone.